Hello, I'm doing a book review, and the book I want to review is The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. Now, The Time Machine was published in 1895. Now, H.G. Wells, along with Jules Verne, is considered to be one of the fathers of science fiction, and he, of course, wrote other science fiction novels like The War of the Worlds and The Invisible Man and The Island of Dr. Monroe. So the Time Machine starts out where it's being narrated by an unnamed narrator, and this unnamed narrator is part of a group of men who meet together every so often, and what happens is they have this friend who claims that he built a time machine, and of course they're reluctant to believe him because you find out that this character is somewhat of a prankster, but it turns out that he actually did build a time machine. And what happens is, a week after he tells them this, he shows up to one of their meetings, but he looks like he's been through hell. Like, his clothes are all ripped up and he's all dirty, and he then tells them that he's been time traveling, and essentially the whole book is the time traveler telling the story on what happened when he time traveled. And in the book he's only referred to as the time traveler. Like, you never actually find out what this character's real name is supposed to be. So the time traveler, he talks about how he traveled into the future, specifically the year 800-2701 AD, and when he traveled into this year, he was met by a peaceful yet childlike race of people called the Eloi. Now, when he first meets the Eloi, he at first thinks the Eloi are almost like the perfect race of people, despite the fact that they have the intellects of 8-year-olds. They, still, like, there's no fighting among them, and they don't have to work too hard. Like, literally, they live off fruits and stuff. Like, so it almost seems like a utopia at first, or so the time traveler thinks. But the time traveler eventually discovers another race called the Morlocks, and the Morlocks are essentially the villains of the story, and they're these nocturnal humanoid creatures which live underground, and every night they come out from under the ground and they hunt the Eloi, and essentially you find out that the Eloi are essentially just cattle to the Morlocks, and the time traveler, to his horror, discovers that this is what mankind has essentially devolved into. Now, I really enjoyed The Time Machine. Like, there's definitely a reason why this book is considered to be a science fiction classic, and in the book there's actually a lot of social commentary. Like, in the book, the time traveler theorizes that the Eloi are what the upper class would eventually evolve into, and he believes that the Morlocks are what the working class would eventually become. And there's kind of like a social commentary there about how if we keep living like this, like actually having an upper class and a lower class, like if we keep like having these different social classes, like we might eventually just devolve into two separate species. Like, I think that's what H.G. Wells was trying to go for with the whole social commentary of the book. But like I said, The Time Machine is a very good book. I would definitely recommend this if you're a science fiction fan. Now, there were a couple of film adaptations of this book. Like, I think the most famous one was the one that came out in the 60s, and I have seen that version. I know there was a made-for-TV one in the 70s, and then there was a 2002 one, and I've seen the 60s version, and I've seen the 2000 2002 version, but I've seen both of those like years ago. But if memory serves right, I think the 60s version was a little more true to the book than the 2002 version was, and I've never seen the 70s version, so I can't comment too much on that one. But yeah, that's my review on The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, and bye.